Hi, I'm your host, Greg Jameson. Welcome to the 20 Minutes of Influence podcast. We are actually shooting this today as a video podcast as well as an audio podcast. So you can view this on YouTube as well as go into the usual places such as iTunes and Stitcher and wherever you happen to listen to your podcast. And with me today is a dear friend. You can see her picture up here, Tracy Malone. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you so much for having me, Greg.
And we're going to talk today all about Pinterest and how Pinterest can really make an impact on your marketing. So, Tracy, why don't you just tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and maybe why you are the one to talk to us about Pinterest.
Thank you. I have been doing marketing for about 24 years, and as I market myself, I have learned obviously a lot of SEO. I have learned all of the secrets that we've learned in your books and other books to get more traffic. And I also specialize in understanding all the social platforms. And the first thing I want to define is that I do not believe Pinterest is a social platform. Pinterest is more of a visual search engine. Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I would agree. A social platform is typically where you are, in fact, interacting with something that somebody has posted. And people don't tend to do that on Pinterest.
Exactly. What we do is we go there and we look for things. And in the beginning, I think people thought of Pinterest as the place to collect pretty pictures. And it certainly started out that way. I don't think Pinterest even knew how it would evolve. When you got into recipes and you got into other, kind of silos of businesses, it totally expanded. But it's not limited to those things that are pretty or that we can cook a recipe on. The stats and the numbers of the people that are on it are astounding. And it's almost like a little micro search engine. So for me, if I'm looking for a recipe like I did last week for gazpacho, I'm not going to go to Google. I want to see it. I want to see it. I want to feel it. It's like going to a store before I pick a recipe. And when people creatively take a picture of that gazpacho, add some words that entice me, I'm going to click on it and I could potentially be using that recipe. And then, of course, there's the collection factor. And, next time I want to know what soup I made, I can put it into a board and remember that I liked that one. And so if you look at the people that are on there, there's about 200 million people a month that go to Pinterest. And while we know that the statistics are 70% women and 30% men, 50% of the new users registered are men. So I think that number is going to climb up because things that they need are also being serviced here. They're finally getting the answers that they're looking for on how to fix a toilet. And I know I'm like generalizing here, but I'm going man, female kind of things. But
and men are into toilets.
I want them to fix the toilet, so I'll send them there to make sure they know how. But the fact that the people that are on Pinterest are ready to buy, and they are actually usually in the high income, the average income of a user, 40% is over $100,000. So if you are selling something, if you're leaving them to one of the answers that they're looking for, they can, of course, buy it, but they can pin it. And to me, somebody pinning my pin, it's like they tell two friends and they tell two friends, because that one pin just keeps getting spread farther and farther, gets put on more boards. And if you do it right, which means you're adding your own link to it and you're adding great keywords and descriptions on all of your pins, that will lead traffic back to your site.
Yeah, and now there's several things that you said there that I think are actually really important. One is you were talking about recipes, and obviously recipes, you're referring to that in the sense of food. What can I eat? But you could put together a recipe that you post on Pinterest for, how do I tie a square knot, or how do I fix a toilet or whatever. And though that step-by-step instruction type of thing, I think is the thing that Pinterest actually lends itself to really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, it doesn't have to, it can be anything. So for me, when I have clients that come to me, I work a lot with authors. So, they've just written a book and they want more awareness about their book. What would be more sensical for people to create a meme, which is just a picture with words on it that give you a little taster of the book, a quote from the book, something that entices them, something that compels them. If that's the area that they are looking in, they're going to pin it. They're going to save it. They're going to click on it. And my numbers are off the chart, and they have seen up to 2 million viewers a month. And some people I know go, well, who cares about viewers? Trust me, if you were paying Google AdWords, you'd care.
Yeah.
But what that means in clicks, and that's what we're counting. We're counting how many times did they draw traffic to our site. I just pulled up my numbers for this week, and I've had 435,000 viewers on my board. Summers are always slower. And that meant 39,000 people this week have clicked onto my website.
Those are good numbers.
That's crazy numbers.
Yeah. So a meme, you're saying, is a photo with text on it. The other thing that Pinterest lends itself really well to is infographics, which is basically a long extended meme that maybe has the instructions on there, the recipe, for example. And that seems to be a place where you can really post those kinds of graphics that don't work all that well in a lot of other places other than maybe on a website, because of the fact that they are long extended graphics.
Yeah. And people search for that. I mean, no matter what you're looking for, pick any topic that you might look for, from how to sell a book on Amazon, how to, make this garden grow, it's the world of how-tos visually. And again, if you do it right, and you pin it so that it brings back that traffic to your site, you're going to be ahead of the game. Because right now the numbers, I couldn't find the complete accurate number at the moment, but it was 20% of all the pins on Pinterest are made by 20% of the people. I mean, 20% of all memes are the people that are contributing are only 20%. Everyone else is repinning. So if you become that contributor, look at the power.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, often Pinterest, I hear it compared to Instagram in that they're both kind of visual platforms, and people like looking at pretty pictures. But I think one of the real powers of Pinterest over Instagram is the whole thing about you can put a link on Pinterest. You can't put a link on Instagram. And
I think it's more evergreen. If you think about it, I mean, I love putting things on Instagram, but they tend, their lifespan is, if you didn't see it in the time I did it or go back to my wall to find it, you're not going to see it. It's a very busy wall depending on how many people you're following. And to my knowledge, there's no real search in Instagram. I wouldn't go find me a gazpacho recipe, right? Wouldn't find what I'm looking for. I'm inspired, yes. And people can follow their brands. They can follow the people that influence them. But on Pinterest, they're following their desires. They're following the things that they want to do. And, they're creating this wish list. If you want to go on a vacation, where do I want to go? Well, let's look at all these pictures. Let's look at all the things you can do in Tuscany. It's a bulletin board. And then it becomes a click through to buy that hotel, to buy that information.
Yeah, I totally agree that in Instagram, it seems like one of the big problems that you have is that it's this continually changing feed. And you have this continually changing feed in Pinterest if you're just sitting there on the feed page or the home page, whatever they call the thing. But you can go back and find the exact thing that you're looking for. And And like you were saying, what you do is you actually collect things, and you're collecting those for yourself as much as for showing them off to somebody else.
Oh, absolutely. These boards can be followed. So you can create a board that people can follow if they're looking for the best whatever. I create very intentionally seasonal boards. And we're coming up on not Super Bowl, but football season. And while 80% of the year my football food board gets real quiet, starting in a few weeks, it's going to be blowing up, and I'll start pinning to it again and adding some new material. So every time I add new material to that board, it comes up on the walls of people. If people are searching, it's new, it's fresh. And so if I add to that board during that season, that board will do so much work for me and bring people to my site, whether they're there to follow just that football food link or they follow all of me. That is sort of a lead magnet to people that are going to be looking for something at a specific time of the year. So really good advice is to just, what's coming up? What is your passion? Football, snack stadiums. I've got another one of those boards. And again, seasonally, that thing kicks butt. It's great.
Awesome information here. We are coming up on a break. So after the break, I want to actually dive in a little bit deeper here as to how you actually do this, how you're getting 39,000 people a month to come to your website from Pinterest, and the specifics of what you do to have that happen, to garner that traffic, and how our listeners can make that happen for themselves. So we will be right back after this. Hi, I'm Greg Jameson, your host of the 20 Minutes of Influence podcast, as well as the author of the best-selling book, The Influencer Effect. As a thank you for listening to this podcast, I would like to offer you a free consultation on how to utilize the power of others to market and sell on your behalf. To claim this offer, simply go to bit.ly/coachingwithgreg. There's no obligation, so go ahead, bit.ly/coachingwithgreg, and sign up for your free consultation today. Hi, this is Greg Jameson. Welcome back to the 20 Minutes of Influence podcast. We are on a great podcast today. With me today is Tracy Malone, and we have been talking all things Pinterest. And right before the break, I mentioned to Tracy that I would like to have her really get into the specifics about how you, as one of our listeners, or in the case today, one of our viewers, how you can actually get in and do this yourself, where you can generate that kind of traffic to your website using Pinterest. So take it away, Tracy.
Okay, thank you. So for anyone out there that has a blog on their website, you've spent a lot of time writing the blog story. No matter what it's about, it took time. And then you sit back and you forget that you put it out there. Maybe you mail it to your email list. Maybe you're doing something like that. But it tends to die off quickly, gets real quiet because there's so many blog stories out there. But let's use the example of how do you do something in WordPress, because that's one of your expertise. So if you were to say how to pick the best e-commerce plugin, and you've got a great story, you've got a great blog. If you were to take a picture and create a meme, so a meme is something with words on it that describes what's on there. And so often when we create a blog story, we spend hours searching for that perfect picture of that sailboat or whatever is appropriate for our article. But nobody knows what that sailboat is unless you put the words on it. If sailboat's what you want to put on that article, you just put the words, top tips to pick WooCommerce plugin. and then you pin it from your website. So you put that meme, that description of what the article is, onto the page. And then you can right click on it. You can add a Pinterest plugin to your browsers. All browsers have them that allow you to just hover over them and pin it. So when you're pinning it and bringing it over to Pinterest from your blog, you're creating that link, that tie together. And so it's also going to open up a box that has a description. That description allows you to have 500 characters. And most people, you'll see, put like 5 words, maybe 5 letters. It's not doing you any good because remember, this is a search engine. So if you are trying to figure out how to pick the best WooCommerce plugins, write that in there. That also might give you a hashtag for WordPress. It might give you a hashtag for marketing. It should hashtag yourself and any other relevant information, maybe a link back to your site. Use that 500 characters correctly, and then choose the board that it's most likely going to be found on. So it might be WordPress tips. If you do all of those steps, people will find you because they're searching by WordPress tips, WordPress plugins, whatever you're writing that story about. And it doesn't matter if you're a physical therapist and you've got an article on how to help your injured knee. People do go there looking for articles, and that meme is going to lead them back to your information. Does that make sense?
It does. Now, we're shooting a video here today as well as doing an audio podcast, and you can actually pin videos to Pinterest boards as well.
Absolutely. And I do all the time. Yeah, you can do almost anything that you want to. But in addition to creating a board, I just want to say this, that people sometimes get lost in their own stuff. And they, let's just say they have a board on narcissist abuse. They only want to put their, I know, I have a board on that. But they don't look for other people's. They make that board only about them. And that's okay. I have a board, Tracy Malone narcissist quotes, things that I've written, but I also have another one. That's the one that drives 80% of the traffic. So I pin other people's stuff. I don't want someone to find my board and go, oh, it's all about her. What do I care? I want them to find the most robust board out there. And I think that board has about 7,000 pins. And they're not all mine, but it makes it something that I've got to follow this. There's so much good information on that. Does that make sense? Because that's where people kind of get lost, that it's all about them, but it's not. If you're going to have like a nail salon and you want to pin different ways that nails can look, pin them from everybody. Add yours in there, but spread the wealth. Build boards that everyone is like going to want to follow. Because if it's all about you, you're not going to get as many followers. See what I mean? The bigger, the better. Yeah. Okay.
So one of the things that I do, and quite honestly, I don't spend enough time on Pinterest, but after our discussion here today, it's generating some ideas for me. And I've got a question for you about that in a minute here. But one of the things that I do right now is I use IFTTT, if this then that, so that when I post something on Instagram, it automatically gets posted on Pinterest as well. Do you recommend doing that, or are there other tools that you would use?
As long as it's actually having the URL come along with it. So remember, some of the kind of auto posters, most didn't for a really long time. You couldn't post. We have something called Social Report, and it's allowing us to pin. But the key is that you're able to fill out that full description and that you're bringing your URL into the mix. If it's going to put it up there, like when I post something from Instagram to here to there, it doesn't bring all the information I want.
Yeah. And maybe I should try it the other way. I don't know if there's an if this then that feature to go from Pinterest to Instagram, but maybe I should try that, because the fact is that putting to post on Instagram, you have to use your phone, which is really cumbersome, I think. The idea is, okay, I'm going to take a picture of something here and post it up to Instagram, but you always want to put some kind of a description in there. You're trying to type in the hashtags, you're trying to type in the description, and yeah, this hunt and peck thing versus just typing something on the keyboard is a slow process. It's incredible to me that people are doing that.
I know. I like Instagram, but it doesn't bring me business, and Pinterest does. And another thing to consider when you're thinking about the traffic that it's going to generate, the traffic that it generates is something that the Google monsters look at and go, wow, she just got 38,000 people from Pinterest. She must be more important than we're giving her credit for. Look at all this self-driven traffic. People like her. Let's rank her up higher. If you never draw any traffic to your website whatsoever from any other source, Google's analyzing that. They're going, yeah, she got 6 hits last month. Who cares? Let's lower her down. But someone comes along and has crazy traffic like that, you're going to get a higher organic result because you are now generating your own traffic. Does that help?
Yeah, I definitely can see that. Now, thinking of links, the other thing that I was thinking of as we were talking here is you don't just have to send people to your website, which is probably what you're going to do. You're going to post something and send people to your website, but you could actually put in affiliate links and send people off to Amazon or whatever and get paid for this as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You can take book links if you're an Amazon affiliate. You can definitely be putting that in there. You can, when you're pinning something on Pinterest through a computer, the mobile device is different, just like you were saying with Instagram. When I pin something from the iPad, I can't put that link in. I don't have the ability to right click on an article that I have and pin it. But when I'm on my computer, I can upload it, if you would, and add a URL. So I can upload a picture of your book and put the Amazon link in. So when people click on it, they go to buy it.
Yeah, and one of the things that Amazon actually allows you to do is create an affiliate link to your own book too. So,
ooh. Yeah, and you know what? Another thing that's awesome. Yeah. Another thing I just remembered, as you said that, I went, oh, wow, that's such a good idea to tell people. There's something called community boards. So if you have a topic like WordPress and you create a board, you can create a board and make it a community board. And you can seek out other people that pin stuff about WordPress and invite them to contribute to your WordPress board. I have a second narcissist abuse board that is a community board, and I think there's over 300 people that contribute to it. And it's up into the 5,000 pins, and I probably pinned the first 100. So that board is now ranking on Pinterest for, oh my gosh, look how much activity it is, because other people are doing the work for me.
Awesome information. We are about out of time. Is there any final tips that you want to give the listeners today as to what they should really be doing to make this happen for them?
I would say talk to an expert, talk to someone that knows about this. Look at your own inventory. Do you have blog posts that you would like to give birth to again, have people find? If you do, if you're an author, these are great. There's so many different uses for it, but it is much more powerful than most of the other search engines because it's evergreen. And if you do it right and you do it in a pretty way, people can learn how to fix a toilet where they would have never found your plumbing website before. So just get started and build a really robust profile and have fun with it. Do it every single day. And what I mean is pin 3 things a day. Just go in and boop, boop, boop. That keeps you on the radar.
Good info and perfect segue here to talk to an expert about it. How do people stay in touch with you, Tracy?
They can reach me through my website, CoWebOp, COWEBOP, and I would be happy to talk to you about how Pinterest can help your marketing plan. Thank you.
Great. I'll put that in the show notes as well. Thanks for being my guest today. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Anytime, Greg. You are the best.
Thanks. You've been listening to the 20 Minutes of Influence podcast with Greg Jameson. Whether you want others to market and sell for you, or you are looking to become the go-to source for your industry, join us for future episodes at 20minutesofinfluence.com. And be sure to leave a review on iTunes so that we can continue to attract recognized authorities and bring you the latest actionable ideas on getting key leaders to drive your message.